I'm going to tell you how to do the impossible, how you can achieve anything you want in your life, how you can become anything that you want to become, how you can do anything you want to do. Because so many people believe things are impossible nowadays. Well, I know this has been a trend throughout history. Everybody has always thought something was impossible until someone did it. So I want you to be that person that does it. I want you to be that person who goes out and achieve it. But most of the time, the things that we think are impossible, other people have already done, and yet we still think it's impossible for us. And I don't get that. I don't get that reality. I don't get that thought, that belief system that says that I am different in the worst ways possible. See, not that I am different and I can achieve greatness. No, no, no. We're not standing here today in a society of people who believe that they are gifted beyond measure. We're standing here in a society today who believe that they are challenged beyond measure, that they are held back beyond measure. And maybe you're one of those people right now who believe that you can't achieve something, that that's not the way the world works for you, that that's not the way that you can live your life. You know, I've worked in internet marketing for a lot of time, and I've noticed people who have come up to me when I've talked to them and gone, well, I can see how you've done it, but I just don't think it works that way for me. It doesn't work with what I'm doing. I've talked with men like Dan Kennedy, who's a marketing expert, who has people day in and day out come up to him and go, well, I understand that you've helped all these businesses, literally thousands and thousands of companies from every form of life, but I don't think it's going to work for mine. You see, we always believe that we're different, and never that we're better, not that we're different and able, but different and challenged. And I'm here to challenge that. I'm here to help you understand that your differences are what you are capable of doing greater. Your differences are for your potential to be even better. That you have the difference in you to do the impossible. You see, there was a man named Dasarath Manjhi. Have you ever heard of him? Most people haven't. You see, Dasarath Manjhi moved a mountain. Yeah, one man, a poor farmer or goat herder, I forgot what exactly he was. He lived in India. He lived in a small village that didn't have a hospital. And his wife got sick. And he, gathered her up, put her in the cart, and he tried to get her to the hospital village that was 75 or 65 kilometers away. They had to go around a mountain. And she didn't make it. She died. So he was faced with this misery, this sadness, this pain. But he didn't just lay around and go, well, my wife's dead, maybe I should die. He looked at that mountain and said, nobody else should have that guilt. Nobody else should have that shame. Nobody else should have that feeling that they could have done something or that their loved one had to die. No, he didn't want anyone else to deal with that pain, that suffering, that misery. So he decided he was going to tear down a mountain. So the first thing that you got to understand, right? And this isn't one of the rules, this isn't one of the steps, this isn't one of the, processes to achieving the impossible. What this is just something for you to understand. People are going to insult and mock you when you try to do the impossible. It doesn't matter what it is you're going to try to do. If they don't think that they can do it, they're going to think that you can't do it. And they're going to say it's ridiculous. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, it's impossible. But you see, there it is, right? He started going up on that mountain every solitary day. Every solitary day. And he began to try and tear down that mountain. He had no education. He wasn't an engineer. He didn't have dynamite. He didn't have any of the stuff. He wasn't rich. He didn't have money. He didn't have workers working for him. He didn't have a diagram of anything. He just went up and started tearing down the mountain. I'm sure he probably created plans. I'm sure he probably worked on it. He figured it out. But he just went up every day and began to tear down that mountain. And in 22 years, he carved a path through that mountain that turned a 65-kilometer trip to 1 kilometer. One man tore down an entire mountain. So when you start to think to yourself that something is impossible, when you start to think to yourself that something is beyond your reach, beyond what you are capable of, I want you to think to yourself, well, can I tear down a mountain? Is it possible for me to tear down a mountain? Do I have that ability? Because you see, if one person can do it, then anyone can do it. And again, I'm not here to talk about, Michael Phelps. Oh, he had the big feet and he had a very long body. Yes. Genetics play a role in some athletic abilities or some sports athletic or whatever. You know what? don't find excuses. Don't use reasons to find excuses for your achievements. Okay? Never let a reason become an excuse in your life. You can achieve the impossible. A man tore down a mountain. An average, normal, everyday man decided to tear down a mountain. And you're going to stand here today and try to make a reason why that's different. Why you still can't do what it is you want to do. And I'm here to tell you, you better stop it now. You've got to stop it, and you've got to start to believe that you can do it. And that is the first step. You see, when you want to achieve the impossible, you've got to believe that the impossible can be achieved and that you are the person for it. It doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter what history has shown. It doesn't matter if anyone else has tried and failed. You can achieve the impossible. All you have to do is start to fully and completely and utterly believe it. It doesn't mean that you're going to achieve the impossible the next day. It doesn't mean that you're not going to fail sometimes. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have to get back up and try. No. It means that you fully believe that you will accomplish it. And how do you do that? You start to visualize yourself in the future. Now, this is the key. In the future, not right now. Do not try to visualize yourself right now having done it. That's ridiculous. That's bullcrap. Your mind will go into cognitive dissonance like that, and all of a sudden you'll lose all motivation because your mind will say bullshit. And that's what so many programs teach on visualization. Oh, you got to see yourself in it right now. Bullcrap. You got to see yourself in the future. That future that you have, a realized future, fully imagine, because then you can start to trace back the steps you took to do it. And that becomes the second part. You got to create a plan. You know, so many times people don't create plans for their actions. They don't create plans for what they want to do. They think that, oh, if I believe it, I can achieve it. Well, that believing is the first step. But without a plan, without a real actionable step, you're never going to get there. You've got to have a plan. You have to have the whole thing mapped out. Whether you have it mapped out on your head, in your head, or mapped out on paper, you have to have it mapped out. You got to figure out the steps that are going to take you from where you're at to where you want to be. And you got to create that plan. Because when you create a plan, what it allows for you to do is to understand and have focus. And that's the third thing. You got to be focused. You got to be so honed in and ready and just dived right on. Look, when you allow yourself to lose focus of what you want, when you allow yourself to wander away from your desire, oh, you begin to fall off track immediately, and then you set yourself all the way back to the end. No. When you want to achieve the impossible, it comes with shutting off everything else that tells you that it is impossible. It means ignoring your family. It means ignoring your friends. It means ignoring the people, the strangers, anyone else that hears about what you're doing and they go, oh, that's not possible. You're never going to do it. Oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, you might want to try this. It means blocking out your own self-doubts, your own disbeliefs, your own worries, your fears, your guilt, whatever it is that can hold you back. It means fully engaging in your focus right there, right at your goal. You have to see it completely, and it has to be the only thing in your sight. I didn't say achieving the impossible was easy. I didn't say achieving the impossible was the nice and wonderful thing to do. I said achieving the impossible was possible. And you see, the next thing is that you got to start taking action. So many people create a beautiful plan, right? They start to believe it, and then they just set it aside. Don't do that. Look, if you want to do the impossible, you have to do everything possible to make it a reality. If you want to do the impossible, you have to be willing to do everything possible to make it a reality. You need to take action. You have to do it every solitary day. You have to make a plan that will have you working every bit of yourself. Full expression, full energy, full engagement. You've got to give all of yourself. And that's the fifth and final step. You have to become it. And by becoming it, that means you have to give everything you have, everything you are, to the full realization of that goal. You have to surrender yourself to the impossible and become fully what the realization of what it means to achieve the impossible is. I don't care what you want. I don't care what it is. I don't care how difficult it seems. You have to give yourself into it. Because when you fully give yourself into it, then everything has to eventually come to you. Because you see, once you've decided that you are that success, once you've decided that you are the impossible, then it no longer is impossible. It's just something you haven't yet achieved. It's just something that you are working toward. It's just something that you are getting to. But you have to give all you have to it. You have to give your full self. So that is it. That is the steps. Those are the techniques. It's not difficult. You know, it's not complicated. A lot of people expect like some masterful system of physics equation to achieve the impossible. But all it requires is that you believe it, that you make a plan, that you put your full focus in, and that you take the actions and then you give all you have. Because remember, if you want to do the impossible, you have to do everything possible to get it. And that is up to you. That is up to you, and you can do it. You can be it. You can achieve it. You can live your life to the max. You can fully engage yourself, and you can achieve the impossible. And you can inspire others in the process. But you have to take the steps. You got to do it now. Don't worry about the time. Don't worry about how long it might take, because you're going to be in the future anyways. Time keeps on moving, whether or not you're living your dream, whether or not you're trying to accomplish the impossible, whether or not you're trying to go forward and do more with your life. Time keeps moving. So you will be 10 years in the future, 10 years from now, no matter what. So do you want your successes? Do you want the impossible that you've achieved in your life to be part of that 10-year journey? Or do you want to look back and go, wow, if I had started 10 years ago, I would have done it already? Don't worry about the time. Don't worry about the difficulty. Don't worry about how impossible or ridiculous or crazy it sounds. Don't worry about what other people think. Just do it. Take the actions. Move yourself. Believe it is possible. Create a plan. Take action. Focus yourself, and most importantly, give every solitary thing you have of yourself to it. And you will see the results. You will make the impossible possible. And you will be the wonder of everyone. You can do it.